Hello and welcome to my channel. This is one of a couple channels that I have on YouTube, and on this channel I will be covering things and doing things that strike my interest. There's going to be no real rhyme and reason to it. It's just simply going to be whatever catches my fancy and I feel like doing a video on. So it is what it is. This first video is I'm going to be talking about a comic that I just recently discovered. It's been out for a while, a long while in fact, and that is Batman White Knight. This is a great little comic. Fantastic artwork, wonderful. Spoilers, I have to put spoiler alert here. This story, the premise of the story is that the Joker becomes a good guy and Batman becomes the bad guy and winds up in Arkham Asylum. Throughout the story you have basically Nightwing, you have Batgirl, who basically, for all intents and purposes, turn their back on Batman. Basically roll over and go with, you know, the status quo, with the establishment. And you go through the story, and Batman does a lot of things that Batman would normally do, and it all blows up in his face. The Joker regains they go with the Jack Napier origin with him. He regains control of himself, regains control of his facilities, and we find out there's actually two Harley Quinns. And that in itself is a little interesting sub-story. The story is a great story. I love the story. Well, you go through the entire story. Joker, or Napier, manipulates the Mad Hatter. They use his technology and they control a bunch of supervillains to basically out Batman as a bad guy, as a rogue. And they turn basically the opinion of the city and the police force against him. He does wind up getting locked up in Arkham. But with the rise of the second Harley, who becomes the Neo Joker, the new Joker, and with her onslaught of insanity, they have to allow Jack Napier to become the Joker again in order to stop her, which means in order to control the Joker, you have to have the Batman. You also find out in this particular story that Mr. Freeze is the son of a Nazi scientist, which is a really interesting and complex plot point. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed that aspect of it because Alfred is dying of a disease and they're trying to save him, and Bruce Wayne is working with Mr. Freeze. It's an interesting little subplot. It's just the subplots within. You have the main arc of the story, and the subplots within the story work really, really well. You find out in the end. I'm not going to spoil the end because the end has a fascinating twist to it, which is you have, at the end of it, you have basically Batman and Harleen Quinzel, not necessarily Harley, talking about what had just transpired over the last year. And it's the plot twists and the realizations that come out of that conversation at the end are really interesting. So I do recommend checking it out and reading. If you're a comic book fan, it is worth it. especially if you're a Batman fan. White Knight is not in the main continuity of the Batman universe or the DC universe. It's a Elseworld story, which means they don't have any of the prohibitions or limits that your main canon has. So they're free to tell a very rich, very vibrant story. So that pretty much wraps it up for my views and thoughts on Batman White Knight. Until something strikes my fancy to do another video, stay tuned. Peace.